in terms of post-GFC global plays, in terms of geopolitics post-GFC, has the GFC changed the relationship, if you like, between the West and the Muslim world?
Well, it depends, I think, where you are in the West. But I wouldn't say that it was necessarily the GFC that's made this change. I mean, if you look at, for example, the booming area of Islamic finance, you know, which really Dubai is kind of right in the middle of, but not just that. I mean, in Southeast Asia it's happening as well. These were creating links between the Muslim world and the Western world that were strong and extremely profitable, which was the main thing. And so in London you had Citibank, for instance, getting right into this market. And London banks generally were really, HSBC also being a global bank, they were really interested in this. Australia didn't. Australia never really participated in this. We don't have the legal framework for it.
I thought some of our big four banks had made efforts at least.
They've started, right. but they're a long way behind. And we just, you know, the legal framework in Australia, I think it's been changing. Government's sort of slowly been amending in this area. But it hasn't been in a position to capitalise on it. Because, you know, so I think it was, you know, a few years ago, the Victorian government, for instance, made some stamp duty amendments to mean that Islamic financial transactions, which are not based on interest, but are based on equity finance, that they could be commercially competitive. And so those sorts of things were happening, but it's pretty small, it's pretty piecemeal, and Australia is not taking advantage of that. Singapore is really interested. So it's happening in our region. I mean, Malaysia's involved, but Australia sort of hasn't been. But if you go to America or the US or the UK, yeah, this sort of stuff's big.
So it requires further national legal reform, does it, for it to fully take off as such or fulfill its potential? Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the current state legislation is, but last time I looked at it a few years ago, yeah, there was definitely work to be done. Just because the financial transactions are different, so that property passes more times than once, for instance, and that has legal consequences that cost money in Australia that you don't have, for example, in the UK. But the UK, I think, because the banks cottoned onto this very quickly. And you're talking a lot of money. I mean, you're talking about corporations like Emirates wanting to raise capital to buy a new fleet of planes, and they want to do it via Islamic financial instruments, for instance. Right. That's a lot of money to be made there if you can get in. It's actually a fascinating area which is certainly under covered in the financial media.